Well, good afternoon. This is Carl, and this is another edition of Carl's Opinion. Today we're talking about a topic that I just kind of ran across. I was going through YouTube today, and I saw that a YouTuber by the name of Grindel61 had posted a video regarding paradise and about the lives lost and how possibly they could have been avoided and possibly what actually caused a huge amount of loss of life. It really concerned me. At first I wasn't going to watch the video because I thought maybe it's one of those conspiracy kind of videos, but it wasn't, unfortunately. It's actually true. One of the things he brought up was the fact they have a road in Paradise called the Skyway. It used to be 4 lanes. Used to be. And I guess if you're not from California, and I don't live in California, the idea that you would reduce a highway from 4 lanes to 2 lanes when everybody generally does the opposite is a little crazy to all of us. But anyway, that's what they did in Paradise. And they do it under the pretext of increasing commerce, like in the downtown district, of saving people's lives. Generally, an event like that will happen after a pedestrian gets hit or killed, most likely like a young child or something. And they come in under the pretext, oh, we're going to, make the downtown business better. That's how they sell it to the downtown businesses. And we're going to make it safer for the children. That's how they sell it to the family type people. When in actuality it appears this whole project and the projects throughout the state of California are designed for one thing: to get cars off the road, to make it such a pain in the neck for the average motorist regarding having to sit in traffic for extended periods of time that they'll either choose to walk or ride a bicycle. And there's a project in California called the Complete Street Program, the state project, and let me see if I can pull it up here. It's actually put on by Caltrans, and it's called the Complete Streets Project. And what it's defined as is a transportation facility that is planned, designed, operated, and maintained to provide safe mobility for all users, including bicyclists, pedestrians, transit riders, and motorists, and they put motorists last. So even though the rest of us in the country, except for California, believe that roads were built for cars, so we could drive cars on those things and get from point A to point B quickly. Now in California they have a different idea. California roads are supposed to now be equally designed for both cars, motorists, and as well as pedestrians, and as well as people who ride bicycles. You're riding a bicycle to and from work, I guess, and things of that sort. I guess if you work construction, you're kind of out of luck, trying to take your bags with you, or your pail, or if you're a finished carpenter, a lot more than that. But nonetheless, they generally don't probably care about construction workers very much anyway. They have a program in California called Complete Streets Program, and I got that off, again, his YouTube video about Paradise. And then I did some research on it, and I found something in San Diego also. And in other words, it's put on initially by like Walk San Diego, like, oh, we just want to be friendly, we just want to help people walk around and ride bicycles, and oh, it's such a friendly time. But then you see who's actually in charge of it. It's the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District. And they do a little bit of fear mongering because they say like, oh, we have to like make the streets safer for pedestrians and cut down on traffic. So there's actually a line in this document as PDF'd from Taming Neighborhood Traffic, Walk San Diego. And there's actually a line here I just want to read to you because somebody actually put this in print and it was actually using it to convince the citizens of San Diego to put certain impediments into the roadway. I learned new phrases today, again, like road diet, that's strange, traffic calming devices like curb outs and bicycle lanes and things like that. But I mean real bicycle lanes with like, structures that protect them, and not theoretically, but you do something like that, if you have 4 lanes or 2 lanes, you got to take a lane out for 2 lane, or in the case of Paradise, take out 2 lanes to accommodate this kind of thing. So the one phrase here that was crazy, and this is how they're trying to sell it, a couple of sentences, but the person writing this writes, this is a quote, I mean this. Tragically, quote, tragically, far more people simply stay indoors to avoid the danger and suffer the health consequences of low activity, like diabetes and things, because they're too afraid to go out and walk around or ride a bike because these cars are just screaming by them. And it goes on to say, children, the elderly, transit dependent, and the disabled languish or face harrowing conditions. Literally, somebody actually put that on paper and submitted it to the city, and this is like real, and people are actually buying into this. That was in San Diego. If you go back to the Caltrans document regarding complete streets, and this is talking about the Mendocino Arcata area, an area I'm very familiar with, and it says, and they talk about road diets. Like, what's a road diet? It's like Orwellian. You have to create a whole new language here. Road diets. A road diet involves reducing vehicular capacity to create space for non-motorized features. One example would be converting an existing 4-lane undivided roadway segment into a 3-lane roadway segment that consists of two through lanes and a center 2-way left turn lane. The reduction of lanes allows the roadway cross-section to be redrawn to allow for other uses such as bike lanes, pedestrian refuge islands. They should have called it like pedestrian refugee islands. I guess that would have been better. Transit stops or parking. And in the case of Paradise, I think it probably would have been better to call it refugee islands, considering how many people, I believe over 80 people lost their lives up there, many of whom were burned alive inside their cars. The cars were stuck in traffic because, again, the whole point of this complete street program, these traffic calming devices, and I wrote down a couple of what these traffic calming devices would be. Let's see if I have that here. Things like curb outs, things like parking, putting parking in the way, bicycle paths, obviously, things of that sort. And the people who are talking about this, and I'm not generally a conspiracy theorist at heart, but you hear the UN talk about Agenda 21 in the 21st century, make the world sustainable, and a lot of that has to do with, let's be honest, getting rid of a lot of people, because the world can't sustain the number of people that are being born and going to be born into the future. But they use words like sustainability. That's what they talk about, sustainability. And there's one guy in the video, and I'll put a link to it on Grenall's 61's YouTube site, where the guy uses the word sustainability like 4 different times. Sustainable economy, sustainable culture, sustainable commerce, sustainable. I mean, it's sustainability. Like he read this whole UN thing and took it to heart. And then we go take a look at Paradise, which was actually the subject of Grenall's video this morning. And there was, back in 2013, a recommendation to improve pedestrian safety in the town of Paradise. And they had some young girl, I believe, had got hit by a car, and suddenly, something has to be done. They'll say, tough cases make bad law. And this outfit that puts all this together, these reports and how to help these citizens of the community, is out of UC Berkeley, Safe Transportation Research and Education Center. And again, their agenda is to reduce carbon emissions. And they'll use things like safety, they'll use things like commerce, but the main thing is they want to reduce how people move. And they're saying they're willing to sacrifice mobility for the environment. And in the case of Paradise, which was unfortunate, is that when they went up there, they said, we can do all these different things. We can put curb outs out there that actually buttress into the road, put a bike lane out there, and they took this 4-lane road, they cut it down to 2. There's other roads they did the same thing to up in Paradise. And another problem they had is they said, we need to get better evacuation routes because we're cutting these roads down. And there's a problem in California again. This goes back to the environmentalists. Well, if you're up in Paradise, California, I'm not sure if anybody up there knows what it looks like. It was heavily wooded, a lot of trees, a lot of species, whether in danger or not. And if you're going to build evacuation routes, you're going to have to cut through some forest. Well, anytime you do that in California, you got impact studies, you got environmental impact studies, all kinds of things to get that done. It's not even like a 6-month or a year process in California. You're talking several years and lots of money for attorneys and lobbyists and environmentalists that you have to hire yourself to prepare the reports. Very expensive. And so it's not like the city never got around to doing it, or they started it, but it just wasn't completed. It looks like, again, this is back in 2013, and they had a fire also back in 2008, and there was actually a grand jury sat in 2009, it sounds like, where they were looking to charge somebody criminally because people had a problem getting out of town. And I can't believe how nobody's going to get charged criminally on this situation here. So I did an earlier video about Californians staying in California. And basically what I'm talking about is you have Californians who are leaving the state because the state is so horrendous when it comes to crime, it comes to the cost of housing, when it comes to quality of life, having to commute hours and hours to get to your job because you can't afford to live near where you work, education system, infrastructure, and now you see issues like complete streets, where you see issues like traffic calming, phrases like road diets. And you have these people coming out of California who are, trust me, they are taking this with them. When they come to a place near you, they're taking these phrases, they're taking these policies with them because God knows it's doing such a great job in California, which it isn't, which is why these people leave in the first place. And I can just imagine here in Nevada, we're going to start hearing this kind of language. And unfortunately, it's going to have dire effects, not just an emergency or evacuation, but it's going to cause people to have to spend more time on highways, more time in traffic to be able to try to get to work and get home. It's going to decrease quality of life. If you're spending 2 to 3 hours in Southern California, 2 to 3 hours on the road commuting is not a lot. If anybody listening is from Southern Cal and travels from Riverside, San Bernardino County to, like into Orange or LA County, or people who, I've seen this, when I just saw this recently, people who live in Riverside County down along Temecula, Sun City, and actually worked in San Diego. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was watching people commute up the 15 freeway on a Friday, coming home from San Diego, or at least North County in San Diego, where they work, and they can't obviously afford to live in San Diego. Most working middle class people can't. So, that kind of awful quality of life when you get home, you spend 2-3 hours on the road. You're trying to spend some time with your children or your significant other. It's just not going to happen. So, and this is what they wish to bring to the rest of us. And they're going to vote Democrat. They're going to vote for these kind of policies. They're going to say, hey, it's a great idea, let's do this. I mean, who doesn't want safety? Who doesn't want to protect the children? Who doesn't want to help commerce in small little towns, to allow people to stop? I guess the thought is if people are driving slowly through your town, even though most of the people live there, are going to stop at a store because, they weren't trying to get somewhere else. They got just all this time to kill. Well, I guess if you're a social justice warrior or you're a professor at a university and you don't work an 8 to 5 job or a 6 a.m. to 2:30 job, maybe you got a lot of time to kill. But for most of us, we want to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible and as safely as possible, but quickly. I was looking at my phone here, and this phone's created to make our life easier and be able to get information faster. And what you see in California, the debate is, well, we don't want you getting there quickly. The whole purpose of this is to slow you down, slow traffic down. But and the whole point is to slow it down so much that it is almost easier with traffic and the speed limits being slow and congestion to take a bike. So it's like they're trying to change your behavior. And we kind of learned about this in political science in high school. You can put a stop sign up, or you can actually just put an overpass up. You can put a fence up. Yeah, people can still climb over the fence, but maybe it's just easier to walk around it. So they can't just come straight out and do like an automobile ban. They're going to ban your car. No, they know that's crazy. There'll be a riot in the streets tomorrow. But they can make it so expensive and so time consuming to drive that car to and from work that maybe you will use public transportation. Maybe, even though that's going to take a long time, you'll give up some of your freedom, your mobility. You'll take public transportation, maybe take a bike, maybe walk. Who knows? but the main goal of this is to cut down on carbon emissions, to save the planet, and to make our lives, literally more miserable. And again, I invite you to watch that video by Grinnell and the problems he went through in West Covina, California. But it's a real shame what they're trying to do. And again, I would just say, it sounds like a lot of lives could have been saved in Paradise, but for the fact that they took the main artery in and out of that town from a 4-lane highway to a 2-lane road with all kinds of, roundabouts, turnabouts, whatever they call them, parking areas, diagonal parking, curb outs, all these things that you're going to hear about if you actually read some of the articles. I'll put links to all the articles in the description below. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching Carl's Opinion. This is Carl, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And let me just tell you real quick, the one thing here is from Caltrans, and the other one was from San Diego, and the other one was from Paradise. Thank you so much. Take care.